Hi, this is Patrick with Trusty Huckster Mercantile with another haul video. I know I just posted one a couple of days ago, but that was just a partial haul. I had fallen a little bit behind, and I did actually do a couple stops this week and added to my haul collection just this weekend. So I went ahead and combined those remaining pieces plus what I got over the weekend and adding another haul quickly. I want to try and build up my channel, so I've got some repeat videos or videos for people to see that are coming back and visiting the channel more than once. For those of you who are already subscribed to my channel, thank you very much. If you think about it and you like these videos, would love to hear your comments, and if you could like or subscribe to them as well, that would be greatly appreciated as I try and establish this channel, Trusty Huckster Mercantile. All right, getting things started. Pretty much all of these are going to be Goodwills. There's a couple different Goodwills, but they're all Goodwill purchases. So the first is a pair of shell dishes from Lord Nelson Pottery. Admittedly, not a pottery name that I was familiar with. It's from England. It has, doing a little bit of research, there are some modern versions of this, but this has a stamp on it that says 376, which, doing some research, it does indicate was made in March of 1976. What's really nice is actually both of those have the same date stamp. So they are, in fact, if not a pair, they were at least made at the same time. So they have the same stamp. Did a little bit of research on these just to try and figure out value. I have a grand total of $2 into this, 99 cents each. And just doing a little bit of searching, nothing is particularly valuable. I cannot find these at all. There are some shell variations in Lord Nelson Pottery that are significantly more contemporary that were being marketed as soap dishes. I think this is a little small for a soap dish from the 70s. I could be wrong, so that maybe that is what it is. They didn't seem to be doing a lot of dinnerware or cookware, so I'm not sure these are kitchen oriented, so maybe it is a soap dish. Regardless, it's a nice little trinket tray, whatever people want to use it for. The pieces I did find were selling between $8 and $20, depending on what they were. I thought this was a very nice, simple design and would be attractive in a lot of different decor. It does have some crazing. I'm not sure you're going to be able to pick it up on the video. There's a little bit of crazing on the inside of the shell itself and some on the back. So given its age, not particularly surprising, but it is something I will end up disclosing. But there's no chips or cracks anywhere other than that, just a little bit of the crazing. So, I think it's something I'm going to be able to list for probably around $15 plus shipping based on what I'm seeing other things selling for with the two of them. So we will see what I can do with those. The next item I picked up, initially I will admit, when I picked it up, I thought it would be considered a hat vase. And then I came home and started doing research and realized I'm an idiot. And who would have a hat that would have this weird little thing on the bottom of it? What I was thinking were those top hat designs. You see them sometimes in milk glass and other types of glass, but those were very clearly designed to be a top hat. If this were put on somebody's head, they would be mocked. So I don't know what this design is called, but you can kind of see it's indented, so it kind of creates almost a little footed pedestal for this. I did a lot of searching. I could not find this style or this shape in anything. I do believe it is pressed glass. I do believe they ground down or polished out all of the seams, except for, you probably won't be able to see it, but there is a seam in this base ridge itself that they did not polish out. So I am assuming because that is there, that the entire piece is considered a pressed glass piece. There is a concavity here, but I do not believe that is a pontil mark, because even polished pontils, you would still see a little bit of discoloration in it or change of where it was broken off. This is absolutely clear all the way through, just like the rest of the glass. So I do think it's pressed, but in all the different search, I can't find any other examples of it, either on WorthPoint, eBay, Etsy, or just doing a general internet search. I do think there's some age to it, just based on some of the wear on the bottom. And, I would say it probably gives me maybe 60s, 70s vibes, particularly with that color. But if anybody has any ideas of what this is or where it came from, again, I've got $1 into it, so it's not like it's a huge investment, but I would love to be able to properly list it and hopefully educate potential buyers about exactly what this is. If it doesn't sell, I would not be adverse to adding this to my own glass collection, but I need to sell. Cannot be building any more hoards. Okay. Although I just said I don't want to build a hoard, I'm going to show you something that I did buy for myself. I bought a piece of pewter. This is something that, in addition to my 19th century salt glaze collection, I have a pewter collection, which is just off camera. And maybe show it to you someday. It's something that I just added to basically break up the color scheme of all the wood and the stoneware. Pewter looked really good with it from the timeliness. This is a vintage piece. Clearly it's not 19th century or 18th century. It is 1972. It is stamped right on the back. It is Wilton pewter. It was $2, but yellow tags were half price. So I paid a whopping $1 for it. And it'll just look nice propped up amongst some of my other pieces. Just add a little bit of different color to the gray and the tans and the blues that the stoneware gives me. So, all right, I am building that. I'm creating a hoard for that. Okay, the next piece, I'm not going to say was a mistake, but I'm not sure why I bought it. Actually, I take that back. I do know why I bought it. When I saw this, I have developed some attraction to California pottery, an attraction I had no idea I had. Basically, as I've been sourcing, whether it's a Goodwill, an estate sale, or anything, I'll just skim along and all of a sudden I'll say, oh yeah, I do like pottery just in general. And I will see a piece like, oh wow, I really like the looks of that, or really like the design. And I pick it up and it's a piece of California pottery. So it is something that I'm starting to pay a lot more of attention to. This is a piece of Winfield ware. It is handcraft china in Santa Monica, California. It was listed at $5. Again, yellow was half price, so I paid $2.50 for it. It's a nice looking piece called the Blue Spruce pattern. But the main reason I bought it was because I already have 2 dinner plates that match this. And I haven't listed them yet. And so when I saw this, I thought, you know, it's in perfect condition. There's no chips, no cracks, anything. I've got the 2 plates. They don't sell for a lot of money. This sold, there was a bowl of this size that sold in July for $12. So I've got $2.50 into it. So it's not going to be a huge money maker, but I am considering the possibility of adding this and making a combined lot with the 2 plates to make it a little bit more attractive. It'll make it heavier, so there's pros and cons to that. But based on the handful of sales I've had so far, some people are looking for multiple different versions of the same thing. And so if somebody is looking for Blue Spruce, having 2 different versions of it, the bowl and the plates might be something. If they buy the plates, they might want to add the bowl and vice versa. So I did go ahead and pick it up, $2.50. $5 is actually somewhat high compared to what they normally price. Totally worth it. You know, this is a great bowl if somebody had wanted to use this for themselves for $5. But I would not have paid $5 for it because there just wouldn't have been any money for me to resell. So I love their half price color days. The ones around me in the Chicago area, they now are doing, I've been doing it for a while, the color is actually a 50% discount all week. So it is really nice to get in there on a Monday or a Tuesday right when that color changes over, because they don't give any other discounts up until that week that color kicks in. So I went over the weekend, so a lot of the yellows had already been picked over, but I still got some really nice pieces, and this is going to be listed on Etsy. All right, the next item is, I'm not going to say that I am reconsidering. I don't really reconsider doing Etsy. I am actually very happy with what I'm doing on Etsy. But every once in a while, I find myself in a situation where I'm finding something I want to list that doesn't meet within the Etsy requirements of being vintage. And this is an example. This is a Mariposa pewter snowman ice cream scoop. And I just thought he was great. He was $3. I actually found him in the carts that they were bringing out. They hadn't even put him on the shelves yet. There weren't a lot of comps on him, so this was really, I will just have to say, this was really more of a fun impulse buy. There's only one listed on eBay right now, and it is listed for $30 some plus $10 in shipping. It's heavy, but it's not going to cost $10. So regardless, so they're listing it for $43, but that's a listed price, not sold. There are no sold examples on eBay, and because it is post 2000, there's nothing on Etsy either. So this is going to end up being something I will sell in one of my Facebook groups, or if I ever get a store. One of them does require everything to be prior. Their requirement is everything has to be prior to 1975, but that's why I'm on more than one store, because I'll probably have a booth at another location that is not as strict placement. Unfortunately, with it being winter, my best bet is I want to be able to get this listed relatively soon. So I mentioned in one of the previous videos, I am a participant in Treasures from Yesteryear, which is a Facebook group. If you're not a part of that, you do have to request to join it. You can be a reseller or you can just be a buyer. It's open to both. And what they do is they offer sales pretty much 2 to 3 a week. As resellers, I sign up for a date. I just completed a sale last week, and shipped out those items. Hopefully I'll have another one in December. I think this would make a really nice gift. It is somewhat odd because based on its shape, I think it's an ice cream scoop, and it's a snowman. So I don't know, maybe I'll sell it to Southern California and they can just have ice cream in their nice warm area and think about the snow. Regardless, I paid $3 for it. I'll probably only list it for 10 to 15 bucks plus shipping, because I think that's something that would be what somebody would pay. Again, without a lot of comps, I'm not sure what to list it for, but it is newer than 2000, so I am going to just try to sell it on the side. Oops. And luckily that was my Winfield Ware, it survived. Okay, next piece I bought, I really liked this. I know in one of the earlier videos I mentioned that there's a lot of discussion on other Etsy posters and other YouTubers that do vintage, that there isn't a lot of market for clear glass. I'm not necessarily going to disagree with that. I don't think I've sold any clear glass, but I've only sold 24 things. So I'm not necessarily basing it on my own experience, but again, using my philosophy of what I'm doing with my store, finding things that I really like that I want to give a good home, and this is one of them. When I bought it, I had no idea what it was. We're going to see if we can see this. You ended up having dancers underneath what looked like a maypole, may tree, like it seemed like, I don't know if it's a maypole, but that's kind of what I got the vibe of. And then there's some old dude with a goose, which I don't know, I just thought that was kind of funny, but that seemed to have some significance. A very cool architectural building. I'm really big into architecture and architectural history, so I really was attracted to this, but I didn't know what it was at the time. You can kind of see the very top, there's an interesting maybe weather vane or some sort of topper to the tower. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the fourth one threw me a little bit because at first I thought this in the background was a pyramid, but now there's a door. So I think it's a tent or a hut of some sort. But when I thought it was a pyramid, I'm like, why is there a moose in Egypt? So I think this is a reindeer. Now that I've done some research, I think this is a reindeer, and this is a hut. And what this turned out to be is a bowl from Costa Boda, which is a name that I'm familiar with because, as I mentioned, I actually have been building an art glass collection for quite some time. It's a studio art glass company out of Sweden. I admittedly had no Costa Boda. That's not the type of glass that I was collecting, but I was familiar with the name. It turns out this is the Rhapsody pattern, and it went on to explain that these were dancers under a maypole. It is a man with a goose, and that's what almost every listing said. So there must be some significance to the man with a goose. So my Scandinavian viewers, if I ever get any, feel free to share. I don't know if it's Hans Christian. No, that's Danish. Sorry, didn't mean to offend the Swedes. I don't know why you like man with goose, but whatever. This is actually the Stockholm City Hall, which I thought was interesting. And this was listed as a hut with a reindeer. So the significance of them specifically, I do not know. In some cases, they called it a Swedish bowl, but I'm not sure if that was simply because it was a Kostoboda, which is from Sweden, and then somebody said it was the Rhapsody pattern. So I'm not sure. I'll probably mention both in the listing, but I paid $3 for it. The listings that I found were pretty much all over the place and went from $10 to $30. And what I noticed was the $30 ones knew what this was. They weren't just listing man with goose. They actually had some Kostoboda. They had additional information. Those tended to get a little bit more money. The ones that went for the lower money were basically just glass bowl with designs. You know, so that's why I try and do as much research as I can, because I do want to try and get top dollar. And the reason I'm doing these videos is because I want to actually educate people who are taking the time to watch this. Say, okay, I'm learning this as I go along. I opened my Etsy shop in October, so it has been less than 2 months. And I'm definitely learning as I go. So what I have learned, I found the research on this fascinating, because it took me a long time to realize it was Kostoboda. It is not marked in any way. So it was doing a lot of keyword searches and Googling and finding the patterns. So did find it, know what it is now, and that will be listed on Etsy. I'll probably sell it in the 20 to 25 range, because again, my philosophy is I have no interest in keeping something for a year. If it's valued at $30 to $40, yes, maybe if I list it for that, someday I'll sell it. That's not my interest. It'll be buried in 6 months with other inventory. I want to be able to turn it. So I want to be able to get what it's worth, and I want to get in the range. So I definitely like to do this type of research and then list it for an attractive price. And if people find my piece, they will pay a good price and get a good product. Next item that I'd found was something that I didn't think I would get involved in, but this has turned out to be one of those exceptions that I've been successful with. This is a false graph winter frost pattern. So this is also on the edge of what's allowable within Etsy, but these do sell on Etsy because I think they technically started selling prior to 2000. I don't remember the exact range. Admittedly, the pieces that I've successfully sold so far were the ones that have the polar bears on them. This one does not have the polar bears. And of the other pieces that I have, the non-polar bear ones haven't sold yet. So this might have been a mistake to pick it up, but it was only $3. And in looking at the comps, they were selling fairly regularly. And this bowl, which is kind of nice, it has this really pretty blue outside color, and the pattern is actually on the inside. So as you're using it, you see the pattern. They had another version of the bowl that's practically the same size, but the blue was on the inside and the pattern was on the outside, which, because you can see it's flared, you actually wouldn't see the pattern. So it was, to me, that was an odd choice. So I like this bowl. And I just said there was no polar bears, but look, there are polar bears. Ooh, so maybe I will sell this one. I can't believe I missed that. They're very dirty polar bears. I'm gonna have to wash this. But all right, so this one does. But I do have pieces that don't actually have polar bears on them. The divided vegetable bowl does not have polar bears. So it's a mixed bag, but it's very winter. So I'm trying to get these listed as soon as I find them. I just sold, I had a set of 6 mugs. And that 6 mugs, actually, we'll probably do another video on what sold. They did not sell within my first month of business, which was the last video I did. But that was my first Etsy claim. 2 of the mugs broke. I sent it priority mail, and 2 of them broke. So gave her the refund, more than what 2 out of the 6 would have cost, just to make her happy. And then also gave that customer a discount coupon for her next purchase to make up for the loss. So I really want to keep my customers happy. But anyway, so I'm going to try and get this posted as well. And this is another case where I will now have 3 or 4 pieces in my Etsy shop with this pattern. So if somebody's looking for it, they will be able to find multiple versions of it and maybe combine, get a discount for combined shipping. You'll notice as I do a lot of these videos, and if I continue doing haul videos, I have a strong attraction to pottery, china, porcelain, and glass. So basically, you know, all the stuff that can break when I ship it. I had a great time shipping a macrame plant hanger because I felt like I could put it into a Ziploc and ship it and it would have been fine. So, but whatever. I do this because I want to have fun, and I had some fun finding this pattern. Admittedly, Once I brought it home and I looked at it, I am not sure why I was attracted to this pattern. But if you reverse engineer this question, it was yellow sticker day. Half price. Everyone loves half price. Everyone loves a deal. So suddenly these dinner plates were originally marked for $2 each, were knocked down to $1 each. What was also attractive to them is they were very clearly stamped by its maker, and the maker was in West Germany. So it puts it in a time frame that's very Etsy friendly. But again, I think I might have mentioned in an earlier video, my daughter is actually studying in Germany right now, so I have a proclivity toward German items. And I thought this was a simple pattern. Basing it in West Germany, doing a little bit of research, I actually struggled. Replacements has it, but they didn't have any. They don't have any in stock, so there were no prices listed. I'm going to put this as probably a 70s or 80s pattern, just based on the look, and then this kind of fluted scallop thing that's on the side. I think it would be a case where it's a simple enough design that there might be people interested in something like this if they needed new dinnerware. So at $1 a piece, I got a set of 8. I will probably go ahead and split this into 2 listings of 4 each and just sell it as a set of 4, just because they're going to be pretty heavy to ship. But I have got those. And then again, reverse engineering my question of why did I buy it? I have a ridiculous number of serving platters. I don't know why I like serving platters so much, but I think it's because it's a single piece. They stack really nicely. They're attractive. They're the time capsule for all these different eras. It was also half price. And so I found this initially and saw that this brand, which I didn't say, is Seltman Weiden, Weiden. The comps for all their other patterns were actually going at fairly attractive prices. If you go through replacements, some of the patterns, the dinner plate patterns in others, like I said, this one they didn't have any prices, but for some of the others, some of the dinner plates were going for $30 to $50 each. So not all of them, some of them were in the $10 to $20 range. So again, I wasn't 100% sure where this pattern is going to fall. I think it's simple enough that it might have an appeal. You don't really need a very specific design aesthetic to like a vine, a green vine with blue flowers and a kind of a tan border. So the serving platter was originally $3, so I got that for $1.50. It will go into my collection of serving platters that I'm trying to list because I have an embarrassment of riches of serving platters. But they are not things I'm trying to keep. I do want to sell them, and I know that they're not a huge seller because people don't entertain as much. I need to get them listed soon because I think this is the time of year that they will be wanting to entertain. So it's in my best interest to get those listed. As I mentioned earlier, I like china, pottery, porcelain, and glass. This was just a simple little glass vase that I found at Goodwill. It was $1. It is an interesting, there is a term for this, and I can't remember as I was prepping for the video. I meant to look it up and I forgot. Cased glass. I can't remember what it's called when you've got the clear on the bottom and then the color is blown into the rest of it. I don't believe it is flashed because I looked at it as closely as I could and I did not see where any of the colors coming off. But it could be flashed. I mean, that's just something, but you can kind of see as it works its way up, you have an outer casing of the clear until you get to the top where it's all the amber glass again. There are bubbles throughout it, so it's not the highest quality, but it's an attractive little piece. It'd be nice in a cabinet, it'd be simple for a bud vase. Not going to be a big seller. I probably will list it online, but it's not going to be a priority. This will be a perfect little booth filler item if I ever get a booth, because I can do this. I've got $1 into it. I can sell it for $5 in the booth, and I'm perfectly content, and I think it would sell at that. Once you add shipping onto Etsy, I'm not sure it's going to be as attractive at a higher price, but I liked the looks of it, so I definitely wanted to pick it up. Another thing that I like the looks of that, again, probably will not be sold on Etsy, but I will be looking to sell them. They're not big enough movers. Is this, well, I'll show you them both, 'cause I got them in the same place. This was a different Goodwill. This was not on Yellow Sticker Day. I'm going to assume they are coasters. They are not designed with any holes in the back to be hung. They don't have any felt or anything on them. I'm not sure what they're designed to be. They could just be little cabinet plates. I like the idea of them being coasters, and I'm prepping for a party, and I think these might turn out to be my coasters. But again, my daughter's studying in Germany, so this was I wrote it down because I did not recognize it. It was a Furstenberg, China. And yes, every time I did searches for it, I kept coming up with Diane von Furstenberg. That F signature with the crown says West Germany underneath it. If it can focus. It does have numbers at the top. I did not figure out if those actually represent something date-wise, because it ends in a 7.5, so I don't know if it was made in 1975. But I'm sure my daughter will pick on me because I don't know German. But Pine, I don't know, is a town or an area within Lower Saxony. So the first line is the town, and the second line is Neues Rathaus. So even from the design of this, it does look like something this could have been made in the 70s, because that building looks like it's something from the 60s or 70s. I tried to Google it, but of course everything I was coming up with was German. I don't know if it's a dormitory at a university. I'm not 100% sure what that would be. It's not going to sell for much. This company makes all kinds of these types of coasters. Some of them are more attractive than this. To me, the subject matter of this was interesting, but is not something I think a lot of people are going to be attracted by or attracted to. At best, it's probably going to sell between $3 and $5, even on Etsy. So I paid 50 cents for it. So it's either going to stay in my collection and be used as a coaster at a party. And if I ever get a booth, this might be some booth filler. Don't know if if Chicago suburbs is going to have a huge German interest in penne. No, penne is pasta. Anyway, I don't know if this is going to be super attractive, but I got it. It may have been a mistake, but it's a 50-cent mistake, so I don't really care. This one I'm debating because I could not find this example anywhere. You can actually see it's slightly larger than the German one. This says the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Again, there is nothing on the back to hang it. So in some cases, they've got the little wire, like a place for wire to be hung. So this does not have that. It is marked Wade, England, which admittedly my knowledge of Wade are all the Wade whimsies, which I keep hearing about, and I've seen some cases in the wild. Not a particularly valuable name, but it's a name that I knew. And again, for 50 cents, whether it's a coaster or a little cabinet plate, I think this would be something that could be attractive to people who love Canada or people who love the Mounties. I'm not shipping to Canada right now, so I might not have made the best purchase, but maybe I'll just use it as another coaster for my party. So again, for 50 cents, I'm not overly concerned, but even at its best, I doubt that's going to sell for more than $6 to $8, even being something from the Mounties, but it is a nice looking piece. This was something that I definitely was happy I bought it, but I have no idea how to list it. I've done a lot of searching. What this is, as you can tell, it is a kind of a, well, it's a kitchen trivet, very simple, but it's in a very odd and very specific design. First, you have like almost a pagoda-like shape in the metal framework with what appears to be a Japanese character, kanji character up at the top, but I don't think that is. So I'm not exactly sure what that is trying to represent. I looked up pagoda trivets, Japanese trivets, Japan. It is marked Japan on the back of the actual metal piece, and then there's these nice little wooden footed pieces on the four corners. And then you also have the tile. And the tile itself is kind of weird. And it's not going to be to everyone's taste. I initially thought because of this little black and white circle here, it kind of gave me a deco vibe, but I don't think these were big in the deco, like in the 20s. So you've got the metal framework, you've got this tile, but the silhouette and the big hat, like that's kind of giving maybe the 60s. Those look like pineapple on her head. I'm not sure what this is supposed to be. But the tile itself, which is hand painted, and you can tell that, but it actually, if you couldn't tell it, it says right on the back, it is hand painted. First it says it's made in Japan. That is actually embedded in the tile. And then there is a stamp on the other side that says that it's hand painted. And there's information in this little stamp that the only word I can make out is Japan. The rest of it, it's just, it's going over another mark within the tile, so it didn't print flat. And unfortunately, I cannot figure out what that says. But what I also found interesting, it says made in Japan, and in the center, there's a crown. And as I understood it, if you actually had a crown, that was some sort of a royal mark that you got from monarchy. Japan doesn't have a monarchy, sort of, does he? If he does, I don't think he wears a crown. So again, I don't know if that would help me date this, but in any of the searches that I did, I could not figure out even what decade this is from. So if anybody's got any tips on that, I'd appreciate it. It's in ridiculously good condition. So that's the other reason that even though I was leaning when I got it kind of 20s, it's in too good a condition to be that old. So I'm thinking it's probably 60s, and maybe it's 70s. Maybe it's later, but then I don't think it'd be made in Japan. So, and these really weren't popular after probably about the 80s, so I think that there is some era that we're gonna fit into. I had $2 into this. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to sell it for around, $15. Maybe it's worth even more than that, but 10 to 15 plus shipping is probably going to be my initial target. There's a little bit of weight to it, so there will be some cost to the freight, but for the right person, they might actually be attracted to that, even though they may have no interest in getting a trivet, a kitchen trivet. Okay, one of the groups that I'm a member of on Facebook is a Royal Haeger group. I am in the western suburbs of Illinois, or of Chicago, and that is where I'm probably about 15 miles from where the Haeger factory originally stood. And so I run into Haeger all the time. I do not run into Royal Haeger very often, but it's a great group specifically for Royal Haeger, and they're very informative of everything that is all about Royal Haeger and Haeger. So when I found this, I picked it up immediately. This is a piece of Haeger. It is not Royal Haeger. It was an item at the Goodwill. It was still in the carts, waiting to be put out on the shelves. So I was digging through there and I found this. From that group and the information that they provide, and there are some ridiculously well-informed individuals within this group, this, I believe, is the lava glaze and or the orange peel lava glaze. So I still have to fine tune exactly what this is, but it is very clearly marked on the bottom. Thank you, Haeger. Haeger, and then 3182. As you can see, I paid $7. It was not half price because this was a brand new acquisition. Doing the comps on this, in 2018, one of these sold for $56, and currently and that's the only one. So this is not a particularly common piece. And there was another one that is currently listed on Etsy, which is the 3182 style shape, but it has no offense to Haeger, but a horrible glaze. It's very Southwestern, but more like the 90s version of Southwestern. So I'm not exactly sure the era of this. But I am going to list it on Etsy, and I'm pretty sure it's pre-2000, but I don't know how far pre-2000. But it's just a beautiful piece. There are no nicks, there's no chips, there's nothing missing out of it. It's very clearly marked. It will make a great addition. I'll probably sell this in the $50 range just because I want it to be able to move. I only have $7 into it, but as you can see, it's fairly sizable. It's 10.5 inches tall. There's a decent amount of weight, so it's going to cost some money to ship. But I want this to move out of my inventory, because the other problem is with the way I've got everything stored, I have so little space. I'm always concerned that pieces are going to be damaged while they're in storage. So definitely my interest to be able to get this listed, probably listing in the $50 to $60 range, and then plus shipping. but I will list it with shipping included. So probably it'll end up listing online for around 70 bucks. So really excited to have that one, and I really do a nice shout out to the Royal Haeger group. If anybody's interested in that style of pottery, I definitely suggest joining it. It is very interesting. Even if you don't like Haeger in particular, it's just a really good, again, very well-informed group of individuals who are tripping over themselves to help people. And I have had some pieces that I've been helped identify from them, and in some cases purchased a piece because I had seen a post on their Facebook group, saw it in the wild, and knew I needed to pick it up. Even though it wasn't something I immediately was attracted to, it was one of those cases I was attracted to it enough that I knew it was an important piece to pick up, and I was able to sell it within 24 hours. Next item, for many people will recognize, this is an extremely iconic clock from Marshall Field's. It is a plate. It is has the Marshall Field's name right on there. I paid $3 for it. In the Chicago area, even though Marshall Field's has been bought out by Macy's, this will always be the Marshall Field's clock. There'll be the Marshall Field's Frango mints. You know, Marshall Field's is just one of those, like, we still call it the Sears Tower. I don't care. I don't even know who Willis is. It's the Sears Tower. This is the Marshall Field clock. This is not going to sell for a lot of money. This is probably, even in the Chicago area, I'll probably end up just putting this in the booth. In the Chicago area, I'm probably going to get 10 bucks out of this, so I'm not even going to make that much money. But this, again, was a case where I picked it up because it needed to find a good home. I don't like the idea of really nice items or important items going from a Goodwill out into the bins and then trashed or broken, which obviously a big piece of glass like this would very much be at risk of being damaged. So for $3, picked it up. Even if I only get, double my money, I would be super happy to see this go into another home. Then another piece that I picked up was a chop plate, which I actually picked it up initially because of the pattern. This was just, I loved the look of this, and I recognized it. I believe I have another bowl or a dinner plate that's in the same pattern, because the problem is it's not marked. So did a little bit of research on this one, and it turned out that it was a Taylor. Sorry, I'm looking down at my notes. It is Taylor ironstone, and it's called the Atomic Onion, also known as the green onion, but I think the green represents the plate more than anything else. It has sold this size. It is the chop plate. This has sold in 2019 for 20 bucks. It was listed or originally priced at $3, but it's yellow, so it was half price, so I got it for $1.50. So this is something that I think is just a really eye-catching piece. The color could turn some people off, so admittedly it's not going to fly off the shelf, but I definitely think I could list this at 15 to 20 bucks plus shipping, probably $15 plus shipping, because I only have one. So it could be a nice little accent piece. Again, it's this dark green color might work with Thanksgiving colors, depending on what else you're serving for Thanksgiving. But it's just got a really nice retro look to it, and I was really excited to pick that up. Another item I was really excited to pick up, although after I picked it up, I'm wondering how I'm going to ship it, is this massive tray. It's a coffee clutch tray. It is not marked in any way, but I did a little bit of searching just based on the phrasing within the tray itself, and pretty easily found some comparable examples of it. It's a 19-inch tray, and it sold, they don't come up that often. The last one that sold by itself was back in 2017. It was sold for 14 bucks. There was one that sold earlier this year that was both this size and the next size down, so I guess they originally came in multiple sizes. They sold both of them for 27. So $15 is probably about where this is, the sweet spot for it. I've got $4 into it, so maybe, I may only be able to sell it for 10 to 15 bucks. So I'll definitely make some money, but just not a lot of it. I just thought it was very cool. And what I found odd about it is there's actually no way to hang it. A lot of times something of this size would have, you know, a wire or some sort of way to attach something here so that you could very easily hang it. And this one doesn't. So I don't know if this was actually designed to be a tray where you could put your entire coffee service on it, but it is tin. And I think if you were to try and put a full coffee service on there with a coffee pot, tea and sugar, cream and sugar, teacups, and a cookie plate, I'm not sure it would stand up to it. So I do believe it is purely decorative. I don't know if you just lean it up or I don't know what you do, because there's a little bit of a lip to it. Maybe you could catch something in there, but regardless, I only have $4 into it. I think it's kind of graphically interesting enough that, again, some people might find it quirky enough that they would pick that up. Now, something I haven't really talked about in these videos, but if you followed me on Facebook, a little bit of Instagram, or in any of the groups that I'm a member of, I went public with a question on an item that I had purchased about a month or so ago. Regarding that, I was questioning whether it was actually an oil painting, and people were exceptionally helpful in getting me information, trying to help me determine exactly what I had, what its value was. I did sell it. I probably underpriced it based on the comps, because I did actually find comps on WorthPoint for that artist with the same style. But I knew it was going to be expensive to ship. So instead of, again, waiting for the vintage store that I was still waiting for, I went ahead and tried to sell it. And then when I went to ship it, I was appalled at how expensive it was. The box ended up being 33 by 33 by 5. And when I put that into Pirate Ship, which for anyone who does reselling, I highly recommend www.pirateship.com. They have no knowledge that I'm recommending them, but I use it and it's very easy and user-friendly. Anyway, I used it for that, and it turned out that it was going to cost over $120 to ship. That wasn't going to happen. So it's turned into a very long, drawn-out process. The buyer was very kind. It was through a Facebook group, so it wasn't Etsy or anything. But it's been a learning experience. And I had said just over the weekend, I'm probably never going to buy art again. Guess what I bought? So I'm going to start with my mistake, because one of the items I purchased, I'm a huge fan of Colonial Williamsburg. When my daughter was really little, we lived on the East Coast outside DC for 2 years. In the 2 years we lived there, I believe we went to Colonial Williamsburg 9 times. I was crushed when she got accepted to William & Mary and chose not to go. But regardless, I do like Williamsburg. I'm also a member of a Colonial Williamsburg group. So when I saw this, I really liked it. It was $4. It was in a very ratty frame, and I did not anticipate being able to keep the frame. So I took it out and brought it home and looked under a loop. It is all of these images are made up of little dots. So this is a mass-produced poster, basically, just on a really nice paper. Luckily, it's only $4. I doubt I'm even going to sell it. I might put it in my shop if I ever get one. But again, outside Chicago, I'm not sure Colonial Williamsburg will be a big draw. But what threw me was on this side, now I can't see it, but on this side, some of the drawing came off of the main portion. And so I was thinking, oh, well, maybe this is an actual drawing. So one, that means I need to take my loop with me, because I could have seen that immediately and not purchased it. But you know, we all learn as we go. Luckily, it was only a $4 lesson. If I'm lucky, I can sell it for $4. Now that I took it out of the frame, probably not, but the frame's not even worth $4. So anyway, that was a mistake. My other items, we will see if they are mistakes. But one of them is, once again, an oil painting, but it's significantly smaller. So this one I can actually ship. What I liked about this one is not only was the author's name fairly clearly marked on here, it also had a date, 1978. And yes, I realize anyone can write a name, so you can't just look at signatures, but there were other indications on the back. This artist, in doing some research, is from Brazil. The numbering and the lettering that's on the back is definitely a non-American. This is not the way an American would typically write numbers or letters on anything like this. So I was initially guessing it was European, did some digging and realized it's actually from Brazil. It's a small piece. The artist does not appear to be particularly well known. There was one listing on WorthPoint of a slightly larger size that sold for only $13. But then there's another listing for a much larger size for a couple of $100 for portrait work. So this piece, I only have $4 into it. Probably not going to be a big moneymaker. The frame itself is not in the best of shape. I'm not even sure Magic Eraser is going to be able to get all this cleaned up. I hesitate to take it out of the frame because, again, if I go to ship this one, this will ship very nicely. But the fact the frame rises above the oil painting, I can put something over this and the oil painting won't get damaged. So I might keep it, but whoever gets it, it is nice that the backing board has nails in it. So again, it shows some age. I also did some interesting research. When it was Brazil, I got thrown because the Brazilian monetary system is the real. And the way the pricing is set, it starts with a C. So I was not convinced this was something that came out of Brazil, but I did a little bit of digging. And in doing my research, discovered that the Brazilian monetary unit has changed multiple times. And in the 70s, it was something called the Cruzeiro. And that in 1978 would have been what they were using. So the C at the beginning actually matches the era that this was probably framed around the same time that it was painted. So I think it's worth more than the 13 that the comp sold for. Need to compare a little bit of exactly what that one was. I think even though someone might choose to reframe this, I think I could probably get 20 to 25 bucks out of this plus shipping, because it is a nice little street scene. There is a little bit of history to it that the frame does kind of show. So I'm hoping I will be successful in selling that. The other items that I got, we will see again if these were a mistake. Everyone knows the names Currier and Ives. I am fully well aware that Currier and Ives are one of the more reproduced prints that are out there. So I needed to do a little bit more digging, but I found this pair that was clearly vintage in its framing. So the back is completely torn apart. There's this 1346, which is actually on both of them. So I don't know if this was a number for when it was initially sold. I'll have to do a little digging. Somebody had already pulled back the paper. I did not do that. There's really no markings on the backer board itself, but you can see that it is held by nails, so it is a little bit older. You can tell that the wire, it's a little bit older. This is nowhere near a contemporary frame or contemporary print. Initially, I purchased it because what I was thinking, smart me, was, and you can kind of see that on the page, you can see that it's indented. And so this is one of those cases where I know that there are certain types, etchings, engravings, that they're using a plate that then creates this image. So this isn't just a poster, that this was something that there was an additional process used for it. Doing a little bit of digging, I know it's not original. It's very specific and very easy to track. Currier and Ives originals were all of a very specific size. This is much smaller. And is also, I don't believe it's an engraving or an etching, because in doing a lot of research and looking at a lot of images and videos, one of the summary notes was, in general, engravings and etchings won't typically have gray in them. It'll be black or colors. And the entire background is gray. And it is, I believe, hand tinted. There's only a little bit of coloration, and that's a good sign, because they said a lot of the times when they were colored, they were very, very limited hues that they used, and limited paint. So I've got two of these. They were $4 each, so I do not have a lot of money invested in either one of them. Winter Pastime is one of them, and American Forest Scene Maple Sugaring is the other. I really liked the looks of them. I would say they definitely need to be reframed. They are vintage frames, but they're not in the best of condition. This one is starting to split. That I don't know if long for this world. Hopefully I can do a little bit more research, find out a little bit more so I can properly list them, because I do not want to give anyone the misrepresentation that I'm selling something that I'm not. I will list them at a relatively low price, because unless I'm 100% sure what I have and what they're truly worth. If I sell them, they think they're worth significantly more, well, then they've done their research and they deserve to make more money out of it. I'll do the best I can, but these will definitely be listed on Etsy, and hopefully I'll be able to move with that. Now, the last thing I have is a total impulse buy. It is a movie projector, a vintage movie projector. It is the Revere Camera Company out of Chicago, Illinois. It's a Revere 85 8mm movie projector. This was one of those cases. I don't typically do anything with electronics. I have no interest in any of that kind of stuff. This was still in the carts waiting to go out. And I saw it in this huge case, wondered what it was, opened it up, ran over to the electrical area, plugged it in. The motor works and the light works, which from doing some of the research, these sell fairly regularly, but they sell all over the place based on what condition they're in. And in the condition this one is in, the fact that it does function, both the motor and the light, probably the last one that sold that had both sold in the, I think it was a $68 range. So there's going to be a decent profit margin. I do have $10 into it, so it's one of the more expensive things that I purchased in this entire haul. But it looks like I can sell it for between 50 and 60 bucks plus shipping. I'm in a pretty good place with that. And I just thought it was a little quirky thing. I need to be careful with my quirks because when I list them on Etsy, I don't want there to be all these really odd stray or a miscellaneous category where people don't find things. So I probably won't go down this path again, but I don't regret buying it. It's just going to be one of those little oddball things, and it's going to be somewhat expensive to ship because it's fairly heavy. But the fact that it works makes all the difference, and so I will be including that in my Etsy store. So that is my haul. Thank you for those of you who stuck around this long. Appreciate you participating in these videos. I hope you like them. Again, if you can comment, like, and or subscribe to any of them, and or to my channel, I would really appreciate it. Share amongst your friends, in your posts, if any groups that you're in, and definitely go out on the look for Facebook groups if you're a Facebook user. I'm sure there's some in some other locations as well. I'm a Facebook guy, so I'm more familiar with that. There's groups for a lot of different subject matters, and if you're a particular collector in a particular area, maybe you could be the one that's the knowledge base and helping others. Or if you're trying to learn, it's a great place to jump on, taking everything with a grain of salt because you always have differing opinions. But when someone's pulling out reference books and commenting on page numbers and model numbers, you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt that they tend to know what they're talking about. So anyway, again, appreciate it. This is Patrick with Trusty Huckster Mercantile. Find me on Etsy, Instagram, and Facebook. And now, of course, you found me on my YouTube channel. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.